Hello. This week we're going to talk about the purpose of life. Look at Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes says, "Vanity of vanities," says the preacher. "Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What advantage does man have in all his work, which he does under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever." Ecclesiastes 1 2-4. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep his commandments, because this applies to every person. Ecclesiastes 12:13. So, what is the purpose of life? What drives us to keep moving forward? Solomon, the wisest man that ever lived, did a search for the purpose of life. He did everything to the extreme. He explored many endeavors, work, pleasure, arts, in his efforts to find purpose. His conclusions were that all man's endeavors were vanity, a chasing after wind. What does Solomon mean? Is there no meaning to our existence? After going through the whole book, describing his searching and his conclusions, that everything comes to the same thing, that it's just vanity. It doesn't have shows no purpose in and of itself. Solomon comes back to the beginning of his search. He says that the conclusion of all searching brings you back to the only purpose of every man is to fear God and honor God. Solomon's wisdom was a direct gift from God because of his honor for God. So his searching led him back to where he started. In the search, if the search is all vain, what are we looking for in what we're doing? What is our motivating purpose or a reason to do what we do? Solomon tells us that throughout his writings that there is a twofold purpose that gives us a reason to move forward each day. One, the first needs to be the long-term goal of our lives, and the second needs to be anchored in the first for us to stay focused. Long-term goal is pleasure in God, and the result is pleasure in what we do with our lives. What is the overriding goal? The meaning of man's life. Solomon came to the conclusion, for all his searching, and found that the end and driving purpose of man is to seek God and to honor God and to please God. We find the purpose of life needs to be greater than us. So it needs to be outside of us. Purpose, a goal easily attained, will fail to consistently drive us on. The greatest goal is to please God through a living relationship, a desire to be like him. If our long-term driving purpose is to please God through our relationship with him, this should overshadow our short-term goals. It is in finding his purpose in the mundane of life that we find true pleasure. It is in seeking to truly honor our relationship with him that we find purpose and meaning to our lives. Does what we do in life honor our relationship with God? More importantly, does what we do dishonor our relationships with God and others? These things that dishonor our relationships will take away from our long-term pleasure of life. Although it may seem to give greater pleasure now, it will ultimately distract from our focus. So, is honoring God my main purpose in life? Where do I need to adjust my life goals to reflect honoring God? Please leave your comments and questions in the comments below. Thank you.